The last video that I posted on digital IDs and CBDCs went absolutely crazy. So now I want to give you some options against this agenda and some countries that are not necessarily complying with it. Now, I do recommend you to do absolutely everything legally. If the country where you live or where you are a citizen of and where you are attached to requires you to have a digital ID, then you always want to follow the laws of that country. You can legally go to another country, obtain residency, obtain citizenship, and potentially bypass all of this crazy agenda by going to countries that give you way more freedom. If you don't know who I am, I'm Wealthy Expat. I helped over 1,000 millionaires all over the world. I myself have 4 different citizenships. I renounced my US citizenship, and I have more than 5 countries where I'm also a resident. So I have over 9 countries around the world that I can potentially live in, and I've built my ultimate plan B for myself and for many millionaires. The first batch of countries that I personally am very, very, very bullish on is Central America and overall some countries in Latin America. I myself speak native Spanish. I'm from Puerto Rico. It's a US territory and I'm a US citizen, and I renounced my US citizenship, but I connect a lot to other Latin American countries, specifically countries like El Salvador. Now, El Salvador is a country that is developing extremely well. It is the safest country in all the Western Hemisphere. And if you watch some videos about the prison system and about the rehabilitation system that the country has, for example, this video right here, Inside the World's Most Unconventional Prison, El Salvador Prisons by Nick Shirley, this video will make you insanely bullish on El Salvador. You will see how they are trying to create a society of productivity, development, amazing infrastructure. Obviously, Bitcoin is legal tender, and you can legally become a citizen by giving them $1 million USDT or $1 million in Bitcoin. It is, in my opinion, one of those countries that in 10, 20 years is going to be one of the top countries in the world to live, as long as nothing bad happens, for example, to Nayib Bukele. If something bad happens or there's some sort of conflict in the country and the gangs gain power again, who knows what's going to happen? I'm personally extremely bullish on El Salvador. On Panama, for example, although I made a video saying why I wouldn't live in Panama, why I prefer countries like El Salvador or Costa Rica, Panama currently has launched a golden visa program where you can get citizenship in Panama in 5 years. It is a territorial tax system, so basically you can live in Panama and not pay taxes on your foreign source income. And although you have a lot of restrictions because a lot of countries, because of the Panama Papers, Panama is in some gray lists and some black lists, you do have to be careful. It isn't just you send money wherever from Panama. You will get asked some questions, but it works for a lot of people just to have residency, buy real estate, have it as the ultimate plan B, potentially get citizenship long term. And other countries in Latin America like Uruguay. Uruguay works really well, specifically for retirees, specifically from countries like Australia. A lot of Australians like Uruguay, a lot of Italian, Spanish people, obviously because of the language, and historically Uruguay immigration has been mostly from Spain and from Italy and from Germany as well. People are building their perfect plan Bs in South America and in Latin America in general, as well as Argentina. Argentina is planning to roll out a citizenship by investment program. Let's see how that goes through, because locally in Argentina, there's a lot of really high profile lawyers that when this program comes out, they will all want a piece of the pie. Obviously, I would like my own piece of the pie, having millionaires go to Argentina through us and getting citizenship. So there's a lot of people that are going to be fighting for this particular program. Let's see if there's any lawsuits or something locally in Argentina. Let's see what happens. But overall, Latin America, as long as you pick right, because there's a lot of places where the crime is extremely high. There's a lot of places where immigration from countries like Venezuela have ruined the safety. Santiago, Chile is a great example. A lot of bad immigration from Venezuela has impacted the crime levels, and crime is increasing. And crime is increasing in Buenos Aires, for example, in Argentina. Overall, in Latin America, you have to be careful with the crime. You have to be careful with the government as well. There is some corruption, or a lot of corruption in some countries, but you can find your perfect plan B. You can have a residency permit. You can have a citizenship to protect you against this crazy agenda. Mexico is another big one where people are going to give birth. People are going and getting temporary residency. They're getting permanent residency by investment. I absolutely love Mexico. If you pick properly, you can pick a safe pocket, a safe city. In Mexico, the Mexican passport is one of the best in the world as well, one of the best lifestyle destinations in my opinion. They are rolling out digital IDs. They are rolling out tracking, but specifically towards citizens. If you are a foreigner, they tend to leave you alone. If you're an American with a Mexican residency permit, you don't like what's going on in the US right now, you can go and move to Mexico and they'll pretty much leave you alone. If you're rich, bring your money. Be careful how you do it. Don't flash your money. Don't put a bunch of money in the banks in Mexico. Start a trust. Protect your assets properly in Mexico as well, because locals have power over the foreigners, power over the expats. So be careful how you approach Mexico, but in my opinion, one of the best countries to live and one of the freest countries to live in the world. The next batch of countries would be not that far in the Caribbean. Now, Caribbean countries traditionally offer citizenship by investment. I'm personally a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Kitts, Antigua, Dominica, Grenada, and St. Lucia. 5 countries where you can get citizenship by investment, by donation. You can buy real estate, or you can donate to the country, which is the one that I recommend. We've helped clients go through this process, and none of these countries will bother you anywhere in the world. Anywhere you go and live, they're not going to tax you. They're not going to chase you. Yes, in some ways, you are a second-class citizen, because if I want to pass on my citizenship to my children, I need to pay. I need to go through due diligence again. Every time I renew my passport, I have to go through due diligence. They're thinking of adding 30-day requirements to live in the country. So you are technically a second-class citizen, but I would still recommend you to have a Plan B passport, a Plan B citizenship to protect you against anything that happens in your home country. If I was a UK citizen, a German, a US citizen, a Canadian, an Australian, anything, having that main passport plus a Caribbean passport, I would be way safer. I would feel much, much more secure than just having my main country passport that can get canceled. If I criticize the government, I can have legal issues. Digital IDs are going to be rolled out to pretty much all these Western countries, so I'm going to be tracked anywhere around the world. Having this second passport will be the ultimate level of protection. And some other countries like St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as well as Barbados, are thinking of rolling out their citizenship by investment programs in the coming future. Let's see, I'm extremely excited for this space. The next batch of countries over to Europe. I tend to stay outside of the European Union with countries that I recommend, apart from countries like Hungary, for example, or Croatia, or Bulgaria, where they have some tensions with the European Union. They're full EU members, but they oppose migration, they oppose illegals. They tend to stay safe. For example, a place like Croatia is beautiful and it's extremely safe. And you can easily get residency in any of these countries. Hungary has the golden visa. Bulgaria has multiple investment residencies. Romania is planning to roll out a golden visa as well. Latvia has a traditional golden visa. Italy also has a golden visa. So EU, there's tons of options. Schengen, there's tons of options. To get residency, I tend to stay away from the EU in the Balkan non-EU region. For example, Serbia, Montenegro, Albania, even North Macedonia, although I didn't like Skopje that much, but the nature in North Macedonia is beautiful. These countries that are not under the EU, even though they are EU candidates, even though they eventually want to join the EU, for now, you'll have way more freedom, way less government control, way less imposition into your life, way less tracking of your bank accounts and your identity, and you're traveling all over the world. You're going to feel a sense of freedom that you would never feel in an EU country, and a much easier process to get residency, to get citizenship, than you would in any of the EU countries. Georgia and Armenia, and also Azerbaijan, I really liked Azerbaijan. They're honorable mentions because Georgia has traditionally been a great country for taxes, territorial-based tax system, cashing out crypto tax-free. A lot of people go there and open easy bank accounts. They get easy residency. These countries, they have bigger problems than tracking you all over the world. And typically, and this is why some of my recommendations don't make sense to citizens of those countries, to people that are originally from those countries, and they say, oh, why do you recommend my country? It sucks. For a foreigner millionaire, for a foreigner with a lot of money, it's the best place. They're not going to bother you. The banks are not going to track you all over the world. The government isn't breathing down your neck. They're not trying to tax you as much as possible. Something like Argentina, for example. Some Argentines say, oh, but you can never renounce our citizenship. Oh, but we have a lot of internal problems. Yeah, but for people going to Argentina from the US, the level of freedom they will experience will be massive. The same thing in the Caucasus, the same thing in the Balkans, and the same thing, for example, in Southeast Asia. Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, all these countries, you will have a higher level of freedom. You do have to be careful with locals. For example, if you get into a car crash, I got into a car crash in Bali and I started freaking out. Thankfully, we got rid of that problem easily, and I was able to take care of the medical bills and all of that. But that was a scary situation where, look, I had an issue. It wasn't really my fault. It was his fault. His motorbike hit me. And I would have a major legal issue just because that's how the system works. Locals are favored over foreigners. So you do have to be careful when it comes to Southeast Asia. But as long as you don't do anything stupid, you can easily resolve most problems. Two other big ones that I really like, Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan. I've been to Kazakhstan a couple of times. I absolutely love it. I love the society. I love the people. I love the food. I love the nature. Absolutely everything in the country. And it's pretty easy to get residency, easy to get a golden visa. You're not going to get these passports, although I personally would take a Kazakh passport. Pretty good access outside of the West. Good for my current portfolio, actually, in a pretty good country to buy land, to mine Bitcoin, to pretty much do whatever you like in nature. Kazakhstan works pretty well. Uzbekistan also wants to attract a lot of millionaires. These countries want to develop themselves with foreign money. Therefore, they launch these programs to attract people like you. And of course, the GCC region, UAE, and to a certain extent, Qatar, Oman, Bahrain, they all have some sort of golden visa program. UAE obviously being the most popular. You can have more financial freedom, a lot less taxes, more personal freedom as well. You're not going to go there and criticize the government. You're not going to go there and do drugs. So let's not talk about those. You're going to go there to network. You're going to go there to grow your business, to pay less taxes, to not have to deal with crazy regulations. That is why people choose the UAE and the GCC area in general. Saudi Arabia also wants to attract people with their permanent residency program. If you give them over $200,000 as a donation, they'll give you PR for life and for all your family. So they definitely want to bring on as many millionaires as possible, and it works for a lot of people. And lastly, the continent of Africa. So many different countries to choose from. Sao Tome and Principe, Botswana, two countries that are under $100,000 price point for their citizenship. Botswana is a little bit more expensive than $100,000, but around $100,000 to get the citizenship. These are not citizenships you're going to use to travel the world. Sierra Leone, even Eswatini, for example. These are not passports you're going to use to travel over the world, to open companies. They are ultimate plan B, C, D, E, plan F for a person like me. Something like you probably will never use, but maybe in the future it develops really well. Maybe Africa has some sort of African Union. I want to go explore. I just want to have it as a perfect plan B, like something like Vanuatu or Nauru. Vanuatu works really well for a lot of people. You would be surprised. A lot of people that get Vanuatu passports, they never use them. They just have it in case they ever need it. In case their government cancels their passport, in case they want to use it for some crypto exchange legally. Obviously, everything we do is legal, and you do have to be careful with restrictions. If your country restricts you, like the US, they follow you all over the world. You can't just get another passport and then avoid the US. No, the only way to avoid the US is by renouncing. That's the only way. They chase you everywhere, and they have laws and they have enforcement to be able to chase you. So do it legally. But for everybody else, let's say you're a Canadian that moves to Dubai, you can get a Vanuatu passport and then you just use that whenever you need. It's a plan C, D, whatever. Same with a Botswana passport, same with an Eswatini passport, anything like that. If you want to get a second citizenship, a second passport to protect yourself, your family, and your finances, check out this video right here. There's more than 20 countries around the world that have some sort of citizenship by investment, by donation, by exception program. Check them out right here.